G'day folks, Scott here. Today I'm reviewing The Dark Tower. Now, The Dark Tower is based on a very beloved series of books written by the amazing Stephen King. To be fair, I only read the first three of those books 20 odd years ago. I still have the fourth chapter over there on a bookshelf that I just never got around to starting. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but because it was a year or so in between I'd read the previous one. Life got in the way and I just never really got back to it. The problem looking back on it is over 20 odd years, I don't really remember the story all that well. And another problem being is that when I was reading those Dark Tower books was at the end of an obsession with Stephen King where I'd read everything he'd written in a very short period of time after I discovered him as a teenager. And during the time that I was reading the Dark Tower books, I also discovered Clive Barker. Now, a lot of you might only know Clive Barker from his films like the Hellraiser series and Lord of Illusions, but he also wrote some incredibly good dark fantasy stories, just like the Dark Tower series, and I was reading them at the same time. If you've never read his work like A Magica and Weave World and The Great and Secret Show and Everville, I strongly recommend you get on it if you're a reader because they are fantastic books. That's very off topic. I'm going to review this movie based on the fact that I remembered next to nothing of the books, so I just went and saw it as a standalone film. All I remembered was the gunslinger's name was Roland, the man in black being the bad guy's name was Walter, and I didn't remember much else other than, interdimensional travel and whatnot. Now, I've got to be honest, if I had to sum up my thoughts of this movie in a word, it would be meh. It wasn't good, it wasn't bad, it wasn't great, it wasn't awful. I just sit on this kind of neutral, sitting on the fence kind of thing where I didn't hate it, I just didn't like it. It just seemed a bit dull. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was boring. I wasn't bored, I just wasn't overly interested, I wasn't overly invested in it. I think a big problem for me came from the action components of the movie, of which there weren't heaps. But the gunslinger himself comes from a long line of these, fabled characters called the gunslingers. To try and break this down into a very simple thing, there's the universe is almost like a huge plate, like a circle, and in the center of this circle is the Dark Tower. And the Dark Tower keeps everything going, keeps everything in line. It's the center of the universe. It makes everything fine. The bad guy, being the man in black, played by Matthew McConaughey, Walter, his entire thing is he wishes to destroy the Dark Tower to let the evil forces from the outside universes into our universe to destroy the world. And the gunslingers, the main one played by Idris Elba in this movie, is a long line of guys, kind of like the Knights of the Round Table, I guess, who have defended the Dark Tower and stopped such things from happening and to keep balance in all these universes. I really like Idris Elba as an actor, especially if you've not seen it in a British TV series called Luther, that he was brilliant in. And I've always found there's a light in his eyes and a charisma that he has on screen that I've enjoyed. And unfortunately, that really just wasn't there in this role. I get that Roland was a more somber, measured individual who's not, funny and out there, but even that light in his eyes just wasn't really there. Matthew McConaughey is Matthew McConaughey. He pretty much plays himself in every movie. He was okay. Like, the Walter as a character is pretty interesting, and, I like his magical abilities and the things that he can do, but everybody's performance was just kind of deadpan and neutral. There wasn't emotion in either direction. The main character, Jake Chambers, the kid that the story centers around, for a kid actor, he was pretty good. He was definitely the everyman character in it that you would latch onto and learn this universe with him as it happens. He was fine, but that was just it. Like, everything I'm doing, I'm just making excuses. Like, this was fine, that was okay, that was this, that was that. Nothing I'm like, yeah, this was good. Like, if I had to say the one good thing I liked in the whole movie was one single shot when Roland was reloading his gun, where it's like a old 6-shot, like, spinning Western cowboy gun, and he loaded the next 6 bullets in a really interesting, quick way. But, dude, if out of a almost 2-hour movie, that was the one thing that sort of stuck in my mind as being particularly good, that isn't saying much. I think another problem therein is the fact that in a world where John Wick and other very action-orientated, beautifully choreographed and thought-out action films exist, just having a main character with two six-shot pistols just sort of shooting and doing this cross-gun thing that really has been done a million times over better than it was done in this, perhaps didn't transfer to screen that well. I don't want to turn you off the Dark Tower as a franchise. Like, if you read and you've not read these books, granted I've not read the entire series, but you owe it to yourself to give it a go because it's so much more than this was. I really don't have much more to say about it. The special effects were okay. It had a very grey colour palette throughout the whole movie. The effects were kind of, they did their job, but they were pretty uninspired, nothing particularly interesting. There was like one monster in it that was pretty average. I just felt like I was just ambling my way through this story that just didn't really grab or capture me that much. That's all I got. In a couple of weeks, it comes out, and I hope to be giving you a much more enthusiastic review of that. If you've not read it and you've got some time over the next few weeks, please do so. Unfortunately, a lot of people, when they talk about it, they talk about the, infamous 90s miniseries, which a lot of people forget was not a movie. It was a miniseries. It goes for nearly 4 hours. The only good thing about that was Tim Curry's performance as Pennywise. I'll probably address that more when I do the movie review. But man, if you've got some time to kill between now and then, get and read that book because it is amazing. That's all I got. I'll be back soon to review that. Next week, I've got the Terminator 2 3D re-release at the cinemas. I'm really looking forward to that. I'll review that next weekend. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching as always. I'll see you next time.